Good evening, Docs. How you doing, buddy?
Andrew P, doing great. How are you?
Nice. Pretty good, man. I'm excited to be recording right now. I went over to dinner at a friend's house and we played spades, and I drank a lot of whiskey.
Hmm.
So I felt so prepared to talk to you like about there. It's been so much over the like I can't wait to record. There's been so much going on.
How about it, man? I've been bored with the news. It's been
Bored.
Kamala's up and the Trump campaign's falling apart and Trump keeps rambling about
Nah,
bullshit and like it's kind of
there,
boring. I'm not
there's
I'm
a
not excited.
I want to be very clear. There's a false confidence going on with Democrats right now because Democrats were so far down, and now it's basically tied. It's a toss-up race. Like it feels awesome as a Democrat. Now, I'm not a Democrat, but I can understand how you feel awesome as a Democrat because suddenly this is anybody's race. But like every state she's ahead in right now. She's ahead in all the blue wall states. She's tied in Georgia, and I think a point or two up in Arizona. But they're all within the margin of error. They're all within like 3 points.
Yeah, I
And
saw she was up
she,
8 points.
when she's still in a honeymoon phase. She's up 8 points nationally, which they should never show us that poll. If the popular vote mattered, then I would care about that. But that doesn't matter. It's the electoral college. So show me the states that matter. And
So
in
you
the
said
states that
you
matter,
you said you're not a Democrat. What are you?
I'm an independent. I'm a proud,
Okay.
never Trump Republican, but my buddies have told me that I'm not a Republican because I don't like Trump. So I'm now an independent.
You're definitely not a Republican.
Yeah, sorry. And I'm going to try to say my words right tonight. I feel a little tipsy, so I'm sorry in advance for this.
Hey, did
Uh,
you see Bernie Sanders on Theo Vaughn?
I actually watched that whole thing, and I don't watch a lot of Theo Von. But Bernie is the best communicator of progressive values. Like I wouldn't call myself a progressive, and I'm sure as hell not a socialist. But when I hear Bernie talk, like he can make a lot of things make sense to me, like universal health care, like he's sold me on. So that guy, he needs a bigger microphone to talk to a lot of Americans because I think he could sell a lot of people on some stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I think
Yeah.
he's great. I think he talks a great game, and everything he says is right on point. I'm
No,
I'm,
he,
I'm
like I
a
said,
Bernie bro, I guess.
he explains it well, and I'm not at all in the Bernie lane, but I respect how he does it. But dude, so you're talking about a boring news week. Like everybody's got stuff going on. I'm gonna start with RFK because I want to include him because he is the third major candidate. When I call him major candidate, he's polling at like 4% right now.
Okay.
Um, but are you familiar with the whole bear story? First of all, this is like a week ago.
Yeah. He went to Roseanne's house to release his bear story.
Yeah, it's smart of him. He got ahead of it. He put it out there because he knew that I guess the Washington Post called him, or the New York Post, I think, called him and wanted to get a comment on the story. So he knew it was about to come out. So he got ahead of it, which is smart. His PR team deserves something for that. First of all, something that kept striking me. I watched that video. I saw people commenting on it. The story starts with him saying, like, I was taking a group of people falconing up in upstate New York.
Yeah.
And like I kept hearing that, and it struck me as odd. And the thing that's weird to me about this is like the average Trump supporter, and I feel like I might be wrong, but I feel like the RFK supporter are the type of people that say, I don't want the elites telling me what to do, or I don't want the elites running. It's all about the elites. And you've got RFK who's taking people falconing, which seems like an elite thing to do. I don't know. You got Trump who has gold toilets in his penthouse apartment. He's got rooms that are all gold. Like these are the elites, but all the people that claim to hate the elites like love RFK and Trump, which that's odd to me. But the other part of the RFK story, he's behind someone who hits a bear on the road, and he decides to take the bear and skin it. He said he was going to skin it and he was going to put the meat in his fridge.
Yeah.
There are people that eat bear. I hear it's not good tasting, but whatever.
I've
But
heard fine
like
things about it.
the story takes so many turns because he's like, yeah, then I had to go to I can't, he had to do something, and then he had to go to Peter Luger's steakhouse, which I've always wanted to go to Peter Luger's. I've watched some YouTube videos on them. They cook steaks right, but and then he had to go to the airport. So like he drove around for most of the day with a dead bear in the back of his van, I believe he called it a van, And then once he realized he didn't have time to do what he wanted to do, like, oh, it also turns out that I have a bike that somebody had wanted me to get rid of. So like he's been cruising around for Lord knows how long with a bike that someone wanted him to throw away in the back of his van, just back there. And then
Yeah.
he comes across the bear, and now he's got a bear and a bike. And then he goes and runs errands all day long, including having dinner at a steakhouse. And then he realizes he should probably do something with the bear. Like might be true, but that story is odd to me. Like there's so many little parts where if anybody told me that, I'd say you're missing, like you're leaving something out. How did this happen? But
Yeah, I could think of a couple people that this would happen to.
I guess, and that's to me. I hate to say this, not disqualifying. Like
No.
the only thing that I don't believe in it is he said, and I guess he's been sober for some time. I don't really know, but he said he wasn't drinking, but the people he
Oh,
was with were drinking, and they thought it was a great idea.
he was
Which
definitely drinking.
So yeah, I don't care if he was, but like to me, this is almost like a George W. Bush thing, where like whether or not you liked him as a president, like anybody would love to get a beer with W. Like he seems like a fun guy to get a beer with,
Sure.
and with with RFK, with the exception of the whole I was going falconing, which I don't know anybody that falcons, but that's awesome. It honestly almost makes me like him more. Uh,
Yes.
that being
Yes.
that being said, have you seen the stuff? So we saw a couple weeks ago where he had there was a phone call between him and Trump. I don't know who initiated it. His
Hold on, let's
son
finish
leaked
this
it.
story up because there's more to it. The
Oh,
next one, what actually makes me like him more. Like,
he staged. There had been a rash of bike accidents in New York, where bikes, I guess bikes were hitting people. I guess
yeah, like in Central
bike
Park, somewhere
lanes.
around Central Park.
Yeah, bike lanes had just been installed and people were getting run over by bicycles. So he set it up in Central Park to look like a bicycle had run over the bear and killed it. So it was like a wrecked bike into a bear, and he left it there. And then what I've seen the clips now, like it was on CNN and Fox News, like it was a major story at the time. There's a dead bear car. It, not disqualifying. Like there, it's weird because there's a lot of shit that's disqualifying for me, but like that story, I'm like, nah, I'm cool with that. Like if any of the three presidential candidates had done that at some point, they can keep running, and I'm okay with that.
Solid prank. It's a solid prank.
Solid prank. I have no problem with it. What makes me, I've said all along, I feel like he's a Trojan horse, like for the Trump campaign, and I think I might be wrong on that. But there was a whole thing we talked about, I think already, where there was a phone call between him and Trump where it seemed like they were trying to work out a deal where he was going to drop out of the race and in return endorse Trump and then get a cabinet position, HHS or something like that.
Yeah.
And then somebody on Trump's side was like, dude, like you can't put this in writing. This has to be a wink nod type thing. And yeah, so did you see it turns out like in the last day, it turns out that he also approached the Harris campaign and was trying to do a whole like, I'll drop out, endorse you, you give me a cabinet position. And apparently the Harris campaign said they didn't even grant him a meeting. He was looking for a meeting for this. And when I first saw this story, I was like, I kind of don't buy it. Like who leaked this? Did this come from the Harris side? Because it sounds like it should have. Dude, the Washington, I ended up being it was behind the paywall, but I was able to read it because somebody like helped me out with it. But there's quotes from RFK in the Wall Street Journal like story. Like he's openly admitting like he reached out to them to see what kind of a deal could be worked. And at that point, it's like, okay, so I thought he was in the bag for Trump, but was he just in the bag? Like at this point, is he willing to sell his voters to whoever will give him a position? Because
Yeah.
Harris and Trump are they're not anywhere close to on the same spectrum, like as far as all the other issues. So the fact that he was willing to approach Trump, or maybe Trump approached him, don't know how that worked.
Yeah.
It seems, and his campaign's not denying at all that he approached the Harris campaign and said, "Hey, what deal can be worked out?"
Yeah. He just
That
wants power.
is there.
He
So
doesn't
my
want,
thing,
he's gonna get thrown on the side of the road like that bear. And he just doesn't want to not be in the limelight anymore. He wants to be
I
part
think
of something.
I think he's the writing's on the wall. His campaign was like almost up to 15% at one point, and now it's at like 4%. Like, and the other thing that I think I know two people that are RFK voters, and if he dropped out and endorsed Harris, they would not vote for Harris. I think they would say screw that. Like the
Yeah.
two that I know would call themselves Democrats, but freaking hate most of the Democrats. Like they liked RFK, so I don't think that would have been a good deal for Harris. If they would have given him any kind of position, I don't think his voters automatically listen to him and come vote for Harris at all.
Yeah, everybody already has made up their mind on who they're going to vote for. It doesn't,
Yeah, but
nobody's weighing anybody else.
the,
That's the
the,
thing.
the thing that's in question is if Harris dropped or not Harris, if RFK dropped out, where would his voters go? Would they stay home or would they go to? I think that they'd be more likely to go to Trump, just off my
Hmm.
knowledge, but I don't think any of them would go left at that point. I could be wrong. So
Yeah.
that happened. Let's see. We didn't even talk about it last time. Kamala had her big Philly thing. Like I was about to get to it the whole episode, but Kamala had her big launch with Waltz. Josh Shapiro spoke in advance. That was Josh Shapiro, dude. You kept telling me you were like Biden needs to drop out, and what was my answer every time you said Biden needs to drop out?
You said he's the only person that could beat Trump.
Well, and I basically said, who would they replace him with? Tell me, give me a good person they'd replace him with, and I'll listen. But they don't have anybody. Like I was convinced their bench was really shallow.
I think their bench is deep. They've got a
I-
deep, deep
I'll
bench.
say this, right? Kamala's put together a string of events where Philly to I think Arizona, Vegas, Detroit was in there before Arizona, Minnesota or Wisconsin. Everywhere she's gone, she's drawing huge crowds, and like they had Shapiro open for him in Philly, they had Mark Kelly open for him in Arizona. They've just kind of all along the way. There's these guys that are on the bench that I didn't really. A lot of them are governors. Like when we think about it, we were always thinking of who was a senator or a congressman that could take over for Biden. Turns out they have some governors who, like, if Harris loses this year, I think Shapiro, Kelly, there's probably more I'm missing, but Shapiro and Kelly are the top two where it's like they're in a prime position for 2028. Like they could take on any Republican. They've got the people behind them, so I'm good with that. Trying to think here. Uh, did you see all the Trump saying that Kamala was using AI for her crowd sizes?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was weird.
The dumbest of conspiracy theories. Like Fox News was covering those events live and was like panning the camera and showing the crowd. So for this to be true, like Fox News is in on it as well. Like they had reporters there. And I thought it was dumb when I saw stupid people on the right retweeting and whatnot this stuff, but then Trump did it, and I was like, yeah, Trump's an idiot. And then I saw multiple people that like me and you went to high school with and know that were like reposting that stuff on Facebook. That were like,
Oh
Trump, or
no.
Kamala caught cheating, digitally placing her. Geez, like there are some good conspiracy theories out there, but people are believing the dumb ones, and they're giving all conspiracy theories a bad name, and it's very, very disappointing to me. Is all I'm going to say.
And what did Trump say? Like somebody that worked at the airport released this
Someone, yeah,
photo
like
and
an
put it
airport
out. Like,
tarmac worker ratted him out, and they're showing a reflection off the engine. The engine's round.
yeah.
So like where you're seeing is shooting down at the ground, but in the reflection, their point is you should see all the people, but in the reflection you can't. You just see pavement because it's a spherical item. I don't even want to try to explain it. If anybody watching this thinks that she did fake it, then I think you should continue to chase that down because God bless you. It's awesome.
Have you ever been to that bean in Chicago?
I haven't been to
No.
Chicago ever. It's a city I want to go to.
It's kind of the same principle. You get really tiny. Like you go up to that bean and you're looking into it and like you're like really tiny on one side, and then if you walk around the other side, you're like really big. Kind of cool.
Okay, I've seen it, but never been there. But and then the only other thing I'll say about Kamala, I got a lot to say about Trump, but with Kamala, they're riding out the honeymoon, so this is awesome. Anybody who thinks it's going to stay like this is crazy. There's going to be, remember when a couple weeks ago when it looked like Trump was definitely going to win, and I kept saying I was like, dude, there's going to be 3 or 4 more curveballs in this race. Like everybody who's super excited and think Trump's officially the president, hang on to your pants. And I feel like that's where we're at now. Is Democrats are getting way too confident. They got the convention next week. They're going to get a convention bump coming out of the convention. It's going to look like Kamala has this locked up, and then are you familiar with the term an October surprise?
Yeah.
So I guarantee you Trump's people have a couple October surprises. Even though they had a scramble and switch to Kamala, right now they're looking shit up and they're going to sit on it till close to the election, till like the early ballots go out and they're going to drop it.
Hmm.
So however good it looks next week after the convention, like it's gonna take a curve back to this is I think no matter what, this election is going to be decided. Remember how the last one was like it was decided by 70,000 votes between 5 states, and it was actually razor thin, even though electorally it looked like Biden won pretty handily. There were 4 or 5 states that were close as hell. I think that's what we're looking at. There's no way it's going to be a blowout. to anybody that thinks that Kamala is going to blow him out, just not going to happen. This is going to be close. And all Trump has to do at this point is win Philly. If Kamala wins Wisconsin, Michigan, Illinois, which she should win, even I think if she wins Georgia, she still has to win Pennsylvania. So the only way that she doesn't have to win Pennsylvania is if she wins Georgia and North Carolina, which is a stretch, and Arizona.
Well,
So like
Trump is
Trump,
not even trying anymore. Like he went to Montana the other day.
dude, his Montana. So I
Like, why
think
did he
that
go to
was
Montana?
okay. You watch football. You know how when your quarterback misses a couple passes, you have him throw a nice, short, easy pass, and it's a confidence building pass just to get him back in the rhythm. Okay.
Mm,
That's what the Montana rally was. Like
uh,
shit wasn't going his way. He needed to go to a friendly audience where like they knew. And what's sad is they did it somewhere where they knew they could fill the stadium, and then they didn't fill the stadium. Like there was still quite a bit of empty seats. Like he's not drawn what he was. And
mm-mm.
on that note, Fox News and like Rogan mentioned it a couple of days ago. Like they're pointing out there, like, oh look, Kamala's saying the same speech everywhere she goes, and they're acting like that's something new or odd. That's called a stump speech.
Yeah.
Both candidates do stump. Trump has been doing his stump speech since 2015, and it hasn't really changed. Okay, but especially leading up to the convention, it's like a comedian that's about to record their special. Okay, they
Yeah.
get their hour down, and then they run their hour for a month or two or three, depending on, and get it tight and get it good because you're about to go record. That's what the whole election process up to the convention is. You're honing your message and getting your stump speech ready for the convention. So if they show her at every city she goes to, it's going to be 90% complete. That's not anything new. And Trump's like, at least most candidates will change it up cycle to cycle. Trump's still running his 2015-16 best of hits.
Oh
Like
yeah.
he's talking about Hillary Clinton and shit. Like to this day, he's been a disaster. But
Yeah.
Kamala, just wrapping this up. She's had great crowds. She's got great energy. More power to her. I hope it stays that way. It's probably not gonna be ready. It's gonna shift back and forth a couple times.
Hmm.
The one thing is she's got this awesome unity, hope, looking forward thing going on where the vibes are good. It's a positive, happy vibe. She gave a speech in front of the United Auto Workers. I think it was in California, and everything was we. And I saw somebody on YouTube, Breaking Points. That wasn't Breaking Points. It's probably Kalinsky or Pacman or somebody on the left. But we did a mashup of her being in the very we mindset, together we will do this, and then Trump in the, me,
I
I'm
and
getting
they.
attacked. Yeah, I'm gonna do. Only I can do this, and
Yeah.
it showed a good contrast where it's like, oh wow, yeah, that's a winning message. So if she keeps that hope, and she's the incumbent, this shouldn't be possible. She's the incumbent, and she's running as the change candidate, and it's working. Like, I don't know if they purposely did this or if they stumbled onto it, but like somehow she's running as hope and change
Yeah.
as the incumbent, and people are buying it. I saw a study tonight,
Who
58% of
doesn't love
Americans.
hope and change, Andy? Everybody loves hope and change.
Well, and Trump's been running on when he won in 16, his inauguration speech, they called it there was a name for it. It wasn't fire and brimstone. It was called American Carnage. They called it his American Carnage speech. And that's kind of his, like, I listened to him today. He did a thing in front of I think it was in front of Bedminster, his golf club, but where he was talking about, and he was just like, America's a laughing stock. America's, this, it's just, America's awful right now. And he and only he can change it. And at one point they asked him that the first like four reporters he called on, it was clear he was calling on friendly reporters, because like the third one was like, hey Mr. Trump, like when that bullet missed you and God saved your life, like why do you think God saved your life? And he was like, oh, God saved my life to so I could save America or something like that. And it's like he does this very, America's a hellhole and only I can save it. And that's his whole motto. And it's kind of it's the American Carnage speech. He's been running since 2016. And I think
Oh, froze on me, Andy. All right, you're back.
I'm back. Okay. Sorry about that. It's raining here and my power got knocked out. Um, anyhow, where I was going with that, Kamala's got a positive vibe going right now. Trump's got a negative vibe. I really think the country is kind of ready. Like we're in one of those modes where we're ready for a positive vibe. Like Trump Biden was depressing as hell. Like I don't
It
there
still
there are def
is.
so
I
there
mean,
are let me say this. There are some people out there that we know that were really fired up to vote for Donald Trump again. Like MAGA to the extreme
yeah.
and they were excited about it. They wanted to ride around with the flags.
What do you
Um,
think? Do you think that's like 20% of the country?
I think it was like 30 to 35%. I think it's
Whoa.
probably 20 to 25 now.
Yeah,
I
I don't think it's gonna go up and down. I think it's just gonna keep sliding slowly up for Kamala and Walz.
so it's definitely going in that direction right now. And if they can keep that momentum going, then I, it's almost like a football team that gets really hot 3/4 of the way through the season. And it's like they peaked at the wrong time. And there's 85 days till the election left. And if Kamala and Walz can keep the momentum and the energy up for 85 days, go for it. Put the pedal down. But I'm worried that they're going to peak early and be on the downslope when it comes to actual time to vote.
I'm a
But right
little
now,
worried about seeing Kamala answer questions because it's not her strong suit. Like,
so all the highlight videos they're putting together of her are horrible. Like they make it look like she's somebody said she has anxiety or something, and like she doesn't like when and it looks that way. There's a part of me that's like she was a courtroom prosecutor, like she was a trial attorney. You
yeah.
would think if she's armed with the facts, like just knowing what I know about her, former attorney general, former prosecutor, like in a debate, she should wipe the floor with Trump. But based off all prior debates, that's out the window. So
Didn't she do well in one of the debates, like the last election when she was going against
there,
Biden?
there's one debate where every now and then you'll see where like Biden and Trump will have a debate, and then if you get on Twitter or X, whatever it's called now, you'll see where like the left is like, "Oh, Biden destroyed Trump," but then the right is like, "Oh, Trump destroyed Biden," and each side is claiming victory.
Yeah.
There was that moment with Kamala in the last one where like several people, including like the Joe Rogan crowd, will say like, "Oh, Tulsi Gabbard ended." Kamala Harris's career that night. And then you'll find other people that say like, no, Kamala Harris put the smackdown on Tulsi Gabbard, and you watch it, and they both got some
Hmm.
good shots, and anyhow, it's one of those where they both claim victory. But I don't think she ever had a great debate at all. If she did, she'd probably still be in it.
Okay.
She would have been in it further into the election.
Well, we're
Uh,
scheduled two of them are scheduled now. So
yeah, like I said, my instincts tell me she should wipe the floor with him, but we'll see. Trump, man, real quick, Trump's done so much recently. He had a 2 hour news conference at Mar-a-Lago. Uh, they've clearly told him to tone it down and to try to be calmer and all that, but like he can't. That's not what he needs to do. He can't do that naturally. Like Trump has rally Trump, which is just off the cuff and spewing bullshit, and his people love it. And when he tries to be on the teleprompter Trump, like it's boring and he goes on for too long. I'm trying to watch every time one of these people speaks. I'm trying to watch it just so I know what's going on. And Trump just keeps talking. He had his 2 hour rally at Mar-a-Lago. He had the Montana rally, which was pretty uneventful. That Did you listen to the Twitter Spaces or X Spaces with Elon Musk and him?
I did a little bit of it. It was so
Uh,
boring. So boring.
so both of those two, Elon Musk is a genius, but like even when he's on the Rogan podcast, he's hard to listen to.
Yeah.
He's not a social guy. And
Right.
then Trump needs somebody to keep him between in his lane. So Musk and Trump talking is a bad. It just was boring. It was the one thing that came out of that is that Trump like complimented Elon Musk on firing workers that were
Yeah.
striking, which has totally backfired him with the auto. What's funny, the people that love Trump love him no matter what. And there's like the auto union officially endorses the Democrat, but several of the workers in the union still like Trump. And
Yeah.
even after he said that, they're still gonna like him. And even if he wins and they end up losing their job because of him, they'll still be his fan. Like it's the whole he can shoot somebody in Fifth Avenue and still be their favorite.
Yeah.
He could personally make you lose your job, and there's some people out there that would happily still vote for him. It's
Absolutely.
a
My
weird
favorite part
thing.
of that interview was when he called Kamala beautiful.
He said she looked like Melania, and she was beautiful. I don't
The
know where
most
he was going
beautiful
with
movie
that.
star. She looked like the most beautiful movie star ever.
Dude, he had a what was it? I don't know what he called it, but he had a press conference tonight at Bedminster that was to talk about the economy. And he did this 2 days ago or maybe yesterday in North Carolina, and you could tell he didn't want to do it. He got up there and he was like, my advisors want me to talk about the economy, so this is going to be an intellectual. You guys are all intellectuals now. This is going to be an intellectual talk about the economy. And then like he kept being like, maybe later I'll do the hits, like and he clearly didn't want to be boring, but he did it. He stuck on script, then he did it again today, and he just rambles. I put him, and Kamala still has to say what she's going to do. So I'll give her shit if she does it, but I put him in the RFK where it's like he's like, I'm going to reduce prices and I'm going to lower inflammation and I'm going to blah blah all the things he's going to do, and it's like, okay, how are you going to do any of that? Somebody tell me
Totally.
how you're going to do any of this, because there's this whole thing, and Trump's a great example where they look at it and they say, uh, gas prices are up X% under Biden than they were under Trump. And yeah, when Trump left office, we were in the middle of COVID and gas was $1.20 a gallon. Like
Yeah.
nobody was driving. So if you want to lock everybody down again, we can get gas prices down
Yeah.
to there. Okay. But then he tries to take credit for other stuff where, if they put the economy on him, here's a great example. They'll say, "Hey, look, unemployment was at a 50-year low when Trump left office," and he'll say, "You can't blame me. That was COVID." Okay, well, gas prices were $1.20, and that wasn't
50-year
you. That was
high.
COVID. Yeah, 50-year high.
Yeah.
Sorry. Um, but so he wants to take credit for some things and then blame COVID for others. So it's kind of bullshit. And I've stumbled onto this thing recently, and every time you question why I'm a Republican, what are my general answers? Why I still lean a little right on some stuff.
It's the economy. It's always the economy.
The Republicans are better for the economy. Okay. I've been taught that my whole life.
They're
And
not.
I got to tell you, dude, I'm coming around to that. And
They
there is an
never
art.
have been. That's the thing. Is
Uh,
you sent
they,
me a chart the other day that expressed
so
exactly
that
that.
that chart I sent you is I'm in the middle of my renaissance right now. Okay. But if you first of all, up until Reagan, before Reagan, the top, 1%, the top tax bracket was paying like 70% in taxes. It was ridiculous, but that's when America was great, according to the MAGA crowd, was pre-Reagan, the 50s, the 60s. And like I said, if you made a lot of money, you were paying a shitload of taxes. Reagan came in and he did the whole voodoo economics, trickle down economics.
Yep.
Hey, let's give a tax break to the wealthiest, and that will trickle down and help everybody.
Nope.
Reagan put it into account. He technically, the recession kind of started under him, but his VP George H.W. Bush got elected, and then we went into full blown recession. And the reason that H.W. lost is because he said, "I promise." He said, "No new taxes. Read my lips. No new taxes." He's not going to raise taxes, and then he had to because we were going into a recession. Okay,
Yep.
Clinton comes in. Clinton balances the budget and pays down the debt. Okay. Clinton was a bit of a badass when it came to fiscal responsibility, which is not comfortable for Republicans to talk about. But he was the last president to have a balanced budget. Okay. After him, George W. Bush. We go to war with Afghanistan, Iraq. That's when the national deficit skyrockets, like into the trillions. When Clinton left, we were doing all right. Bush, and I still got a special place in my heart for W, especially these days. Everybody loves W. He's painting, he's calling Trump weird shit. Like
Except
it's
for his
great.
war criminality, like
You
his war crime
definitely
record. Like, I
he,
mean, yeah,
he's
he's a great
he's
guy.
open to it. Yeah, he's open to attack with everything involving the Iraq war, but I still like him. But he blew up the deficit. Obama came in. Obama inherited the financial collapse of 2008, which Bush and his policies caused, turned the economy around, and then handed Trump a red hot economy. Like the economy Trump got from Obama was doing excellent. Trump, they, when you have a good GDP and the economy's rolling good, is when you should be paying down the debt and all that. Instead, Trump put the hammer down. He gave a tax cut to the rich. Anytime you give a tax cut to anybody, you have to offset the spending. Okay. You have to show, yeah, we're giving a tax cut, so the government's taking in less money, but to make up for that, we're going to spend less over here. Trump gave a tax cut and increased spending in the same year, which you shouldn't do when you have a good GDP. That's when you should be paying it down. So I'm kind of at the point now where all the Republican in me that's about like balancing the budget and taking care of the deficit, the Republicans have no desire to do it at all. And I'm not there yet, but I'm at the point where I'm about to say the economy is better off under a Democrat.
Absolutely.
I'm not there yet. I'm so
Thank
close.
you, Andy.
Okay.
Thank
And
you.
I'm just
Thank you.
I'm just going off since 1980.
I've been telling you this for how long now?
I still don't. I'm not ready to say it for sure, but Reagan
You're
led
there.
us to
You're there.
recession. W led us to financial collapse. Trump's the only one you can't pin it on because Trump had COVID happen, and you can make the argument that if not for COVID, maybe the economy would still be going up. Not even before COVID,
You could,
economists
yeah.
were talking about a bubble and a bubble that was going to burst.
Yep.
Probably at some point was going to happen. Would have been like 2008, but you'll never know because of COVID.
Right.
But that's kind of where I'm at right now. Is the part of me that still leans Republican is for fiscal responsibility. And you notice Trump isn't even talking about the national debt or balancing the budget at all because it'd be him opening himself up for attack. Like he can't bring that up because look what he did. He blew out the national debt. So I'm kind of I think I've hit a point where I'm getting. I think you were wearing off on me, but the disingenuous arguments from the Republicans, like Ukraine is a great one. They say, why are we spending this money in Ukraine when we could be using that money to feed our homeless or take care of our veterans? And the bottom line is if we stop spending that money on Ukraine and then you gave the Republicans the option of, hey, we can now put this money towards feeding the homeless or helping the veterans, or we could give the rich a tax cut.
Yeah.
100 times out of 100, they would do a tax cut and still. So the whole we're not feeding the homeless because we're giving money to Ukraine, that's a bullshit, disingenuous argument. The Republicans would not let us feed the homeless regardless of what we're doing in Ukraine.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Same with veterans. Like,
And the Democrats too. I'll let's throw a bunch of the Democrats in with that.
I think there's a lot of Democrats that are totally down with just increasing the budget every year, which is why I don't like that shit. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of them that just be like, oh yeah, let's take care of everybody. Let's figure out how much we need to spend, and then we'll tax everybody accordingly. I'm not down with that. Okay, so I'm a man without a home right now because the Democrats, I don't like the way they handle the budget. The Republicans just they talk about handling the budget the way I would. They don't actually do it, and I think I needed a history lesson to show me Trump, W, Reagan. HW almost doesn't even count because he just inherited the Reagan economy. But the whole
But
trickle down
he
economics
had to raise the taxes to
to make to offset the fact that we were going into debt
yeah,
because of the tax cuts that Reagan put in.
right.
So, and then you'll be shocked to hear this, but so far it is yet to trickle down. That was the whole thing is it's going to trickle down and make everybody more profitable. And so far it hasn't worked. So
Yeah. No, it doesn't work.
yeah.
What like if you're rich, it's just like the Ukraine analogy.
Mhm.
If you have that extra money, the rich people have this extra money, are they gonna give it to their employees and pay them more money or hire more employees,
do
or are they gonna put it in their 401k so that it grows
do
10% every year?
do stock buybacks and stuff, which is
Yeah,
what they always do. So
absolutely.
I don't know. I'm kind of at the point
Yeah.
now where, and the polling is actually showing this. Like Trump had a huge lead over Biden when it comes to who do you trust for the economy more. And now with Harris and Trump, it's almost tied. It was like 52-48 or something like that, where, yeah, they almost trust Harris more with the economy than they do Trump, which, given our current state of inflation, which I wish people understood, like Biden didn't cause this inflation. People call it the Biden inflation. The world went into inflation after COVID. Like that's what happens when you shut off all the supply chains and shut off manufacturing for a year and then try to fire it back up.
Yeah,
The
and
U.S.
there's all these like CEOs of companies talking to their board of directors saying, "Oh yeah, we're making more money and we're gonna cut back to 12 chips a bag instead of 20 chips a bag, and
That
we're gonna make even more money next year." And
that's
like it's all businesses just trying to make more money. That's all it
that
is.
that's what's hard is when you hear like it's just inflation, blah blah blah, and then you see that all these companies are putting out record profit margins every quarter, and it's like, is it inflation or is it greed?
Yeah.
And Kamala said she wants to go after that and try to rein it in. And then Trump tonight said, hey, the government can't tell companies what to charge, basically, which the Republican in me agrees with. But at the same time, like, we can't allow. All right, we're back. This is going to be tough. Last time I had to edit 2 videos together, and now I've got to edit 3 together. So I apologize
Okay.
to everybody for my post production because it's not good.
No, I think the first one's gonna be one. There'll just be a little pause where we
Okay, good. Well, then,
yeah.
yeah, and at some point we might change spots like we did that one time. So anyhow, but I don't know where we were. The economy. I definitely, like I said, I'm definitely willing at this point to say I don't think Republicans are any better for the economy, is what I'll say. They've,
Yeah.
the whole "fool me once, shame on me" type thing. Like I'm not
They've been
buying it
fooling you all
again.
your life.
W didn't do shit to address the debt, which mine if people said why do you lean Republican, I would say our national debt is out of control. We owe 34 trillion or whatever it is. So that was my biggest thing is that's not sustainable. I don't see any reason to think that the Republicans want to tackle that at all. And that was the whole reason. They talk a big game about it, they never do it. And in reality, at this
Who do
point,
we owe the debt to? I want to know who we owe the debt to.
so I should have looked this up. So I'm gonna talk out my ass a little bit here. Okay, T
Okay.
bills.
China, right?
No, well, T bills is a thing. Like when you buy
Okay.
T bills, man, Google this while I'm talking here. When you buy T bills, that's like buying the U.S. debt. I think I'm gonna.
Okay.
It means a lot to me to not mess this
And the
up.
Chinese buy a lot of our T-bills.
Yeah, the Chinese own a treasury bills. Aha, I do know what I'm talking about.
But then we buy some of theirs too, I'm guessing.
If we do, that's bad investment. We should be paying down our debt. Short-term debt obligation issued by the U.S. government that mature on a 1 year or less. So, like, I know Warren Buffett apparently, with all his different investments, apparently he owns a shit ton of T-bills, and that's because like, T-bills are a great investment, and like they're backed by the U.S. government, so you can't get screwed over on it, pretty much.
Uh,
Um,
until
so
the whole economy collapses and the government.
yeah,
And
so
yeah.
So every time the government needs to borrow more money, they create more T-bills, which are it's like an IOU, I guess, and we sell it to people. And like China is more than happy to buy it up. And I love Trump's thing when they asked him like it was 2 or 3 years into his term when he hadn't even tried to pay off the debt. He was increasing it year after year. And somebody asked him about it, and he basically was like, the way he handles business is he's like tell them to go fuck themselves. We're not going to pay them. Tell him we'll pay him 50%. He tried to basically negotiate the debt, and he never actually did this with China, but he was floating it on Fox News, where he's like, "Let's try to negotiate it. Let's tell them that's go screw yourselves. We'll give you 50%. We're not giving you all of it." And like he basically wanted to negotiate America's debt, which like half of me thought was the dumbest shit I've ever heard, and the other half of me was like, "Holy shit." That could work. Like, what if we just tell China, hey, either take 50% or go fuck yourselves? Like, what
But
are
is
they
it
gonna?
China or is it like the Chinese citizens?
So, but it's China, the government. But then also, if you did that, you would also be telling there's U.S. I guarantee there's people from all around the world, but there's definitely U.S. citizens that buy T-bills. So you'd be telling everyone. So that'd be a total Trump move, is to like pay for half down, and you say the other half is going to be when you get done, and then when they get done, you say, it's terrible work. We're not paying you. Like
Yeah,
that's a Trump move, but like
it's a
more
total
power
Trump
to
move.
him for trying to suggest that. But that's like I said. I think at this point the only way we're going to pay down the debt, and Republicans will hate to hear this, but like it's going to be through a tax increase. Like we can't cut spending our way out of this. We have to cut so much spending just to get to where we're not adding more to the deficit each year. Because right now we're just piling it on year after year. And if we did some hard cuts, some cuts that would hurt, we could maybe get down to where we're not adding to it. We have a balanced budget, which is something we never have. If we're going to pay it down, the top 1%, like the Bernie Sanders stock trade taxes, it's going to have to be in effect. Like that's the only way we're actually ever going to pay it down. And I think the
But
word
that's going to go to healthcare. We want healthcare, Andy.
well, pick one. We need healthcare and we need to pay down the debt and we need to take care of our veterans. And there's a lot of shit we need to do. And there's only so much money. Oh, and on top of that, we're borrowing money for the stuff we're doing now. This is the Republican in me. Like, this cannot go forward. Like, I think we have like a $34 trillion national debt. I'm probably low. It's probably higher than that now. That was probably the last time I looked at it. So
Yeah,
that there's
it
no
just
way
keeps climbing. I mean,
there's no way to cut spending out of that. Taxing the rich is going to have to, if we want to get serious about paying it off, taxes need to go up. Just
oh, it's
bottom
30.
line.
It's 35 billion
35
or 35
trillion.
trillion.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
ain't billion, it's trillion, which that's more
yeah.
money than we can comprehend.
So it only went up 1 trillion since the last time you looked at it.
I think I looked at it like within the last 2 or 3 months, and that's how fast it's going up. So I'm just saying. The only other thing, uh, man, you said it's been a boring couple weeks. Have you seen like? Okay, let me back up. Republicans are very good at doing this. You know what Project Veritas is? Do you ever pay attention to that?
Um, I've heard of it, but I don't know what it is.
It's this guy named James O'Keefe, and he does like hidden camera stuff where he'll send in like an attractive young girl to flirt with like a CNN producer and then get hidden camera footage of him being like, "Yeah, we fucking hate Trump." And then they like, "Oh, here it is. The news media is admitting they hate Trump." And they're big on that. They have hidden camera type stuff all the time. A lot of times it's argued that it's very selectively edited to kind of prove the point they're trying to prove. Republicans have been doing this forever. The what are you trying to request here? Okay, there we go. So the Democrats got good at this shit. They sent in a hidden camera operative to record. You know the whole Project 2025 thing? Are you aware of this?
Yes.
So Trump recently came out and said Project 2025. I don't know any of these. He tried to say I don't know any of these people, and they're all people that have worked with him forever. Are you trying to share the screen? What are we doing here?
I did. Yeah, I just shared it with you.
Oh, okay, yeah, the U.S. debt clock. Yeah, look at it just ticking up. Oh my God. The U.S. that that's gonna give me a heart attack. It's just oh my God.
Yeah, I was going up
That's
a
that's
hundred
hundreds of
thousand dollars
thousands.
every 2-3 seconds.
Oh my God. This is the Republican in me hates this, and I wish Republicans were serious about addressing this. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna try to. Can you get that off the screen before I have a heart attack, please? I'm gonna
Yeah.
die. It went up $600,000 in like the 5 seconds we were looking at it there. That's ridiculous. Okay, Project 2025. Or sorry, yeah, Project 2025. The Democrats sent in some hidden camera person to talk to the leader of that. Trump recently came out and said he doesn't know any of them. And he was like, I don't even know the people that wrote this. And like 90% of them worked in his cabinet. Like he
Yeah.
knows who they are.
The
But he
Daily
tried.
Show did a recent special on it. It was pretty good.
They did good, but then so somebody sent somebody with a hidden camera to talk to this guy, and he's sitting on a couch in like a fancy hotel room, and he's like, "Yeah, Donald Trump right now is claiming that he doesn't know who we are, but he has to do that for politics. Like he's very involved in what we're doing." They got the head of Project 2025 to like spill the beans on like Trump, which we all knew, but at least he had
There's-
plausible deniability, and that's still like if the Democrats want to keep the pedal to the metal, the Project 2025 stuff is scary. I think there's a lot of Americans, and I think I know a lot of religious people that are Christians, are religious, but they don't like this. What do they call it? The Christian nationalism, Christian nationalists. You familiar
Yeah.
with these people?
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
America's a Christian nation, and we should only. Like, in the state that I live in, our superintendent right now is trying to put Bibles in every classroom and demanding they teach from the Bible. And like, I don't have a problem with my daughter reading the Bible at all, but I don't want school to be forcing her to read it or any other kid. Like I'm pretty firm
Yeah.
on that. And the whole founding of America was the freedom of religion. You have the freedom to be Christian, and you have the freedom to be Jewish, and you have the freedom to worship Yahweh or the
Yeah.
sun god Ra. I don't care.
Yeah.
In schools, we shouldn't
Buddha.
be teaching that stuff. And that's where part of Project 2025, and Trump said it out loud today, he wants to get rid of the Department of Education. Did you hear him say this?
Yes.
He says we're going to get rid of. He goes. Most of the states will do all right. There'll be 10 or 15 states that don't do so well, but that's all right. And it's like fucking okay. 14 of the 15 states that won't do all right are red states or Republican states. New Mexico is the one Democrat state. My state, Oklahoma, we're 49th in the nation, and the only thing that's stopping us from being worse is the Department of Education is paying attention and kind of holding us accountable. Mississippi, Alabama, like I guess
They're all screwed. Yeah.
it doesn't make any sense to me. Like I firmly believe we should be investing in the future of our nation and making sure our kids are educated. And this whole get rid of the Department of Education, Arkansas, Sarah Huckabee Sanders over in Arkansas is signing bills to where kids can drop out of high school and go to work at like the age of 13 or 14. It was something like
Yeah.
that.
Ridiculous.
I don't understand. Like,
Dude, a dumb nation votes Republican. They want to keep as many people voting Republican as they possibly can. And so they want them uneducated and unable to think outside the box.
I so want to argue with you on that, but I think that they're not giving me anything to argue with. Like that's where we're at. And Trump right now is doing great. And I don't have a college degree, so I'm in this group, but like Trump does great in they call it like the uneducated white working class voter, no college degree, probably working hourly, maybe salary. Like that's Trump's bread and butter. And I think they're looking at that and then going, okay, great. Like if we can keep the uneducated white working class, like that's got to be it. They're trying to keep that
It's
farm system bringing up more people, I guess, because I don't see why we would want to hamper education for the kids. Like I don't. There's no part of me that sees that at all. And that when he made the argument for getting rid of the Department of Education, I was like, oh, I can't wait to hear him tell me the reason why. And like, there really, there's
there's no
not.
reason.
It's just we're gonna do it, and that's a Project 2025 thing, and I've about had it with that. So
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And they've been talking about it for a while now. They've been
yeah.
talking about it since Trump was first elected, I think.
So they brought in Betsy DeVos, that was had
Yeah.
no business at all being the Department of Education, the head of it, and she didn't do good things while she was there, although it survived. It was still there when she left, which I don't think we can say that about Trump's. If Trump were to win, I don't think it'll be there when he leaves. If somebody wants to come back and rebuild it from scratch, they're going to have to do that because he's going to get rid of that shit. And I think part of it is because, like, he wants Bibles in classrooms, and the Department of Education would be the first to stand up and say, no, you can't do that. So get them out of there. And yeah, it scares me.
Why does he
Uh,
want Bibles in classrooms? That doesn't make any sense to me.
it's the whole Christian nationalist movement. Like the evangelicals behind Trump
But Trump's
are
not even Christian.
they think he is. I've never figured this out. The whole time he was president, he went into a church twice. The third time I know you're going to bring up is when he went in front of the church to take the picture of the upside down
Upside
Bible.
down Bible, yeah.
But he went into church twice in 4 years when he was president. And both times he arrived halfway through it, walked in a side door, walked out on stage, waved at everybody, said some things, and then walked out the side door and left. He didn't sit through any kind of a church service or mass the entire time he was president. And for some reason, people will still say, oh, he's the most Christian president we've. God hand selected him to run.
Yeah.
I don't get it. He
He
doesn't
doesn't
even.
need to go to church, Andy.
Did
He's
you
already been, he's the chosen one. He
there?
doesn't have to go to church.
There's two great clips. One where they asked him what his favorite Bible verse was, and he was like, "Oh, I
Yeah.
don't want to get into that. That's personal." And they were like, "Well, no, just tell us one that speaks to you." And he kept trying to find, and he doesn't know one. He couldn't even. He has no clue what a Bible verse is. He doesn't know how to say it. And then the other one, they asked him. They were talking about when he asked God for forgiveness, and he was like, "Well, like I don't really bring God into that." And it's like, well, hold on. Really, the reason there is he didn't want to admit that he's ever done anything wrong. Like that's his whole thing. He's
Right.
never admit you did something wrong. So that's where he got caught up there. But he was like, yeah, I don't bring God into my mistakes. And it's like, well, that's exactly what Christianity is. Was
Right.
you can make a mistake and you ask for God's forgiveness. So
Yeah.
the people that think he's religious, like if you're religious and you like him because he wants to ban abortion, I get that. Like I understand it. I know where you're coming
Yeah.
from. If abortion is your number one voting item and you're voting Republican no matter what because of abortion, I'm not even going to try to argue with you. I'm glad you have your item.
Yeah,
Vote
but the
on it.
Republicans also say, stay out of my business. That was like their
Well,
whole thing for the
T-
longest time.
Tim
We don't
Walz
want the
has
government in our business.
dude, Tim Walz has stolen that. I don't know if you've seen him speak this week, but he's got this
Oh yeah, yeah.
whole stay out of my lane. Don't tell me what to do. And he is it's so weird how we're seeing a little switch where the Democrats and the Republicans are kind of switching stances on certain things.
Yep.
And now the Democrats are attempting, we'll see if they do it successfully, but they're attempting to be the party of keep the government out of my life, which it's always been the Republicans saying that and the Democrats saying no, we need more government in our life. And now that's a total reversal. If they can pull it off, more power to them, but it's not the way it's always been. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm at with
Well,
that.
and I've got a third Trump religious uh
Let's hear it.
thing. Remember when he was asked what's your favorite? Do you like the New Testament or the Old Testament?
I like them
And
both equal.
yeah,
Can you say something like that?
I would say, maybe like both
Yeah.
equally. Yeah.
He's never read either of them. It's so obvious that he has no clue. And it's like if they don't see it, I'm not going to be the one to point it out to them. But it's
Well, you can't bring this stuff up to them
no,
because they just ignore it. Even when you're like, no, look at this. I was talking to my dad the other day and he was like, I mentioned something. He was like, oh, that's AI. And it was something that Trump like said. And I kept going over things and he's like, oh, that's all AI.
dude. So
And I was like, no, it's not.
information bubbles are a real problem, okay? And you're in one. You're in a left-wing information bubble. When you want to know what's going on, you go to David Pakman or Kyle Kalinske, or maybe Breaking Points is probably the closest to center that you get. Am I right?
No, I mean,
What
I go
tell
to
me what you
Fox. I go to Fox News. I listen to right wing
Oh yeah,
radio.
you listen to
I
your local
I listen
right-wing
to a little
talk
bit of
radio.
everything. Yeah, I'll listen to like Ben Shapiro. I'll listen to all of them. I mean,
Okay,
mostly the right wing radio. I listen to it because it like amps me up.
okay. So me and you were unique in the fact that me and you tend to like I follow a lot of Twitter accounts that I don't want to follow, but I just want to know what's being said. And every now and then I'll see something from a right wing account that I totally agree with, and I'm not at all afraid to say that. Okay. Uh Nobody else I know is like us. Like you have your information bubble and you stay in it. And like even I was talking to I don't want to say who it was. We'll call her Shannon. Um,
Okay.
but she was like, yeah, I tried to turn on Fox and I didn't like anything they were saying and I turned it off. And she kind of like you're like I just they were lying and I'm like no, you need to hear what they're saying. Like it could be lies. And, maybe it's not. Maybe it
Shit ton of
is.
lies. It's crazy. They're insane. I
But
cannot. Greg Gutfeld is maybe one of the worst human beings on earth. That guy and Jesse Waters.
I would put Jesse Waters ahead of Gutfeld. I think Gutfeld says a lot of shit to try to be funny, and it comes off like he's being right wing. But I think he's trying to poke at that the Democrat that they have on the five, Jessica Tarlov, maybe. She does a
Oh
good
yeah,
job. She's outnumbered. It's 1 against 4,
yeah,
and she does a good job of getting her shit out there. Um,
yeah. She's
but
fine. She's good.
he tries to be funny, which the fun can I say the funniest thing in politics this week for me, like the one that made me giggle.
Go ahead.
Kyle Rittenhouse. I wish I had seen his initial thing. Somewhere, somehow, he came out and said, I'm not voting for Donald Trump. Donald Trump doesn't do anything to protect the Second Amendment, and I'm not voting for Donald Trump. He might have endorsed RFK. I'm not really sure. He just said, I'm not voting for Trump.
Yeah,
And then he started getting pushback from all of right wing Twitter, like calling him a traitor and this and that. And then he made a video, and that's where I caught on. Is he made a video where he's talking into his phone and he's saying, like, I'm not going to let y'all bully me. Like Donald Trump's not good for the state. And he held to his guns. Okay. Respect. Like he was
for
facing
like
down
how
pressure.
long? This long?
Jesus. And then like the next day he's out with a video like, I got a call from several Trump advisors and I'd just like to say that I was totally wrong and Donald Trump's the best president ever. And like just totally back down. Like I didn't like the kid. Here's the thing. Should he have been convicted of murder? I'm
Yes.
not, no, so I don't, in that moment, he got attacked by people. Okay. Now, should he have been down there with an AR at
No.
the age or whatever? No, he shouldn't have been at all. But he was down there, and that's legal in certain states. Mine, I don't know about yours, but you can walk around the street with a loaded AR on your shoulder, and it's totally fine. It's
Yeah.
totally down with the law. It's a long gun. So should he been convicted? I don't think so, but I also think he's a moron for being down there in the first place with a gun.
Yeah.
That's where that's at. Okay. But he took a stand this week, and for a short moment, I was like, okay, respect. He's not bowing down to peer pressure, and then he immediately bowed down to peer pressure. On that, what 3 days later, Joe Rogan, who this is the dumbest thing in the world to me, because Joe Rogan has been very pro RFK from the time that RFK. Like, if you asked me a week ago who I thought Joe Rogan was voting for, I would have said RFK. He talks about him all the time. He seems to like him. If you listen to Joe Rogan, you should know that he's RFK friendly. Okay.
Totally.
So
He
he comes
bitched out.
out.
He totally bitched out on his statement.
Jesus, he came out and he just said both sides, and like I can totally relate to a lot of the stuff Joe Rogan says about both sides. Both sides do this for for however many years. Each side tells you this is the most important one. If you don't vote for us, our country's gone forever. Both sides view that shit. So I get some of what he says. Okay. He said RFK is the only one that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And I don't he never even said I'm voting for RFK. He just said he's the only one that makes sense to me.
I mean,
And
that's an endorsement right there.
dude, and do you know what audience capture is?
Yes.
Okay, so for the people that don't know, audience capture, I firmly believe Rogan became a victim of it. Okay, and Sam Harris accused him of this, and there was a whole back and forth between Rogan and Sam Harris. I'm on Sam Harris's side. It's at a certain point Rogan realized that all of my listeners are Trump fans or are right wing, and if I shit on Trump, that's bad for my show. So I don't mind all the shit he says negative about Biden doesn't bother me at all. I just hit a point where it's like Trump's giving you a lot to talk about, and you're just glossing over all that and focusing on the Biden stuff, which I don't mind, but you're clearly ignoring some. The Joe Rogan I know from back in the day would be all over some of the stupid shit Trump says, but he just ignores it all and doesn't bring it up. And I think he's a victim of audience capture. He knows what his audience wants to hear. He knows what will offend them, and he's trying not to offend them. And he mentioned some good shit about RFK. Didn't even say he endorsed him. And the right jumped on him. Donald Trump tweeted within a couple of hours. And what do you say? I can't wait to see how many people boo Joe Rogan at the next event, which is an interesting
Question mark, question mark,
Dude,
question mark, question mark.
That's an interesting matchup right there. I don't like you tell me if right now if Trump and Rogan went to war with each other online, like not real war, but like if they who comes out ahead there? I don't know.
Rogan.
I think Trump maybe.
Why?
The left has abandoned Rogan for the most part. I'm one of the few people that's probably a little lefty that's listening to Rogan at this point. The left ain't there anymore. The only people he's got left are the right. And if he loses all the Trump fans, there's a real slim center group of people that are still listening to his show. But I'm not sure. It could go either way. But I just think that I'd lean Trump.
I think Rogan might have more sway. He has longer staying power. I think after Trump gets beat by Harris in this election, he's gone. Like he has no more rallies. He doesn't have any more airtime on any news stations.
Yeah.
He is faded into the distance, and MAG is gone with him. And I am praying for that.
If you waited till after the election and Trump does indeed lose, then yes, Rogan has more power. But right now, today, this weekend, they spar and they're at odds. Who comes out on top between now and the election day?
You think Rogan gets booed at the next UFC?
Not now. Now that because he came out immediately and said, like, I wasn't endorsing RFK. Oh, and by the way, when Trump raised his hand and said fight, that was the most badass ball. So he came out but dude, and then so those two happened. Which
I didn't think Rogan would do that. I didn't think he would bitch. I didn't think he would backtrack on a statement.
I didn't think he would either. And when Trump came out with the tweet, in my mind, I was like, oh, I can't wait to hear what Rogan says about this next episode because I want to hear his reaction. And bitching out was never in the equation. I didn't think that would happen. But then within like an hour, he came out with the tweet, and I don't want to say he bitched out. Like I don't want to say it, but like he backed down to the MAGA mob. And then now that was a week ago. Was it less than a week? Maybe 5 days ago. And then in the meantime, Trump gave a couple 2-hour press conferences that were boring. He did the Elon Spaces that was boring. And then today and yesterday, I guess, Megyn Kelly has come out with some I'm going to say some harsh words about how boring he is. And this, she came out. Candace Owens did.
What did Candace Owens say?
She was talking about how he's lost a step. I'm trying to remember. I'm going to summarize it because I remember her word for word. But basically, that he's getting old. He's not as entertaining as he used to be. He can't hold the crowd's attention. He's talking too long. Like valid criticism. If you've watched him, like I've tried to make it through every one of his recent things, and I have. But like at certain points, I pick my phone up and I start scrolling because I'm not entertained at all. Like,
and yet Fox News is still just Trump all the way. He's the greatest. He's the best. This speech was so amazing. Here, look at this clip of Trump just handing it to Kamala Harris and handing it to Joe Biden. And like they have invested so much in Trump winning that they're stuck. They're stuck in it.
What's scary? So tonight,
it's like going all in with 7 Deuce.
So the last couple events he's had, and tonight especially, he keeps repeating, he's like, I'm way up in the polls. I'm way up in the polls. And it's like, you're losing, but it's all within the margin of error. So we're going to call it a tie right now. But he keeps saying he's so up in the polls and blah, blah. It got me thinking, I don't know if I've ever talked to you about this, but right before the 2020 election, during COVID lockdowns, I ended up talking to a mutual friend of ours. And I remember she was like, I think I said something where I was like, well, like if Biden wins, blah, blah, blah. And she said, well, you don't think there's any way Biden can win, do you? And I said, well, Biden's up 8 points right now. Like, I think it's very likely that he could win. And she was like, no, like Trump's up in the polls. And I was like, no, like what polls are you looking at? And we had a little disagreement over this. And then I remember when I ended up pulling out my phone and showing her polls, and she was like, I don't know what polls you're looking at, but everything I've seen, like Trump's way up. And I was so shocked because I was like, eh, we're in the middle of COVID. Trump is doing the whole inject bleach and whatnot type press
Yeah.
conferences. It's not going well. And I was like, this person pays attention to the news, and she has no clue that Trump is down nationally, like by a lot. Um, and then I realized, like, if you only pay attention to Trump, like Fox News is doing a little bit better this cycle where they're showing the polls, but like
Yeah.
in general, like Trump just keeps repeating that he's up, and it's I didn't see it coming in 2020, but in 2020 he was trying to prep everybody for when he loses. It must have been rigged. I was up so
Yeah.
much in the polls that it had to have been rigged, and it's like, no, the premise is wrong. You were down in the polls. It's completely likely that you lost, but all his sycophants think that he was up so much, the only way he could have lost is because it was rigged. And he's
Yeah.
trying to do that again this time. And he's got some shit going on in the Georgia, the people that run the elections. He's got a
Yeah.
couple hardliners in there. And it seems like his play again, last time his whole goal was to decertify and kick it to the House where he would win most likely. And it
Do you
looks like,
think, wait, do you really think that the House would actually like
yes,
certify him?
yes,
Huh.
yes.
How
And
many how many votes do they need?
so what happens is the House is weird because the House has like 436 members or something like that. But what
Uh-huh.
it comes down to is every state gets one vote. Okay. So it like
Okay.
Texas has like 25 representatives. I'm probably off there, but it doesn't matter. They get one vote, and it comes down to who do they have more Republicans or Democrats? Texas has more Republicans. So Texas is one vote. The Republicans get to pick. And
Yeah,
Texas
but
is
do you
have
think all of those Republicans are gonna like falsify an election for Trump?
No, because I mean, what they'll say is if they manage to get to that point where not enough states certified their election, nobody reaches 270, it goes to that. They're going to say, well, this is our duty now. It didn't reach 270 because Georgia couldn't get their shit together. So according to
Yeah.
the Constitution, now it's up to us to pick, and every state gets one vote. And the Republicans have more states, even when the not always, but even when the
Mm.
Democrats control the House because they have the majority of seats, a lot of
Yeah.
times the Republicans control more states because you have states like South Dakota, North Dakota,
Yeah.
Montana, Idaho, Wyoming that like that
Yeah.
they it's very much like the Senate where land gets a
So
vote,
does
if you
it
will.
is the Senate or the House is the end all be all?
Yeah, so
Oh
if
shit.
neither person can get to 270, then and the only way this comes into matter is if Georgia comes into play, it looks like, because they tried it in Arizona last time. I don't think it's going to work there this time. Pennsylvania, it won't work. Georgia, it could work. So if Trump
Mm.
wins Pennsylvania, but Georgia is up in the air, then it matters a lot, and we could go to the House. If Kamala wins Pennsylvania, Georgia doesn't mean nothing, and if Georgia can't certify, doesn't matter. She's going to be at 270 anyway. So like
Okay.
that's the whole kit and
Okay.
caboodle. Is she can still win her blue wall, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Arizona just for good luck. Like just not even because they need it, but just because it looks like they can do it. Carrie Lake is running for Senate there, and she is special. I don't want to call her a name, but she's special, and she is dragging down the Republican ticket there. Like she's only getting like 39% in polling. So I
Yeah.
really think Arizona's on the table. I think North Carolina is a fool's thing right now. Kamala and Trump are technically like tied in North Carolina, or maybe she's down one. But
Oh.
like we don't need North Carolina is not in the equation at all. Like don't spend any money there. Like we don't need that. We need to win Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Arizona just to put us over the top. Like doable, very doable.
Okay.
I keep
Huh.
saying I keep saying we when I talk about Kamala, and I want to
Yeah.
emphasize again that
Because
I'm not a Democrat, but
you're
I'm a never Trump Republican, and at this point, that's all I'm worried about.
you're
Uh,
not a Republican anymore, I thought.
I'm not. I'm an independent. Damn it.
You're an independent.
Yeah. So anyhow, that's the
I
state of
like
the
it.
race. RFK, which real quick bets all the way back to RFK at the beginning. Will RFK still be in this when it comes to election day? I'm going to say no way in hell.
Hmm.
He seems to be looking for an off ramp. He's
He's
desperately
looking for an
looking.
off ramp,
Yeah,
but I don't think he's gonna find an off ramp unless it's just dropping out.
it might be just dropping out.
But he's being funded by
His campaign's in debt right now. So
oh,
it looks I don't know this to be true. This is all speculation.
he's out.
It looks like he got a lot of early funding from the people that fund Trump, like the far right, And then once they realized, oh shit, he's taking votes from Trump more than he is the Democrats, his funding kind of dried up, and now his campaign's in debt. So that's what it appears like. Might not be
Okay.
true.
So no, I don't think he's going to be in the
Yeah.
race.
If
Yeah,
he's in it on
unfortunately.
election day, I'll be shocked. I think he's
Yeah.
desperately trying. And I think Trump, I don't think there's any way Kamala gives him an olive branch and try, which
No.
part of me thinks it'd be
I
smart to
mean,
do.
I mean,
But
somebody should give him a job in like, environmental
that's if you could just give him a
something.
job in something in the environment, like Kamala, do it in a
Okay.
heartbeat. But the problem is, if he's in the administration in general, then he's going to be in front of a mic, and he's going to be if like there's a new monkeypox, which you can't. Monkeypox is apparently racist now. You can't say monkeypox; it's mpox. So there's an mpox outbreak in Europe
What
right
is
now.
what does the M stand for, Andy?
Monkey, but you
Oh,
can't say that. I'm sure there's a
why?
reason. I don't know. But I saw that tonight that it's M. I saw that there's an Mpox, and I was like, "Holy shit! I've never heard of Mpox." So I googled it, and it turns out Mpox is monkeypox. But like to be
Okay.
PC, we're not saying monkeypox anymore.
Where is
I
this at?
get. I think
Is this with the unvaccinated?
no. I don't call me a racist. I'll bet it started in Africa. I don't know that for sure. It was in like Sweden or Norway or Finland or one of those countries when I
Hmm.
saw it tonight. Like it had made it up there. Um,
Well, I
and
would
I'll bet,
imagine that monkeypox actually came from monkeys at some point.
man.
I mean, that would make a ton of sense, right?
It would make a ton of sense. And also, just knowing what I know about the morons of America, at some point, probably during the Trump administration, I'm going to look this up. I'm betting, I'd almost bet this is true. At some point, there was a monkeypox thing, and some people started com- somehow being racist about it. I'm just going to guess.
Mm,
There was, yeah,
I can see that.
kind of like the
It was
kung
probably Trump. It
flu.
was probably Trump.
Yeah, I'm going to bet that's why we can't call it monkeypox anymore. It's because some racist shit went down, and now to be safe, we're all going to say mpox.
Okay. I
for
like Mpox.
for
It's a good.
everybody. Yeah. So, but Mpox is there's a possible outbreak. Everybody be ready. If that shit happens and RFK Jr. is head of the environment something something division, like, oh, he's going to get in front of a microphone and talk about why we shouldn't have a vaccine and like it's just going to cause trouble. Like,
Yeah, he doesn't. I don't feel like he fits in with the Democrat. He didn't fit in into either party.
like I said,
Like he's very much like a kind of a cuckoo outsider. That's
I think
the
I think it doesn't matter because, like I said, I don't think he could bring any of the votes with him. Any of the people still following him aren't going to come vote for Kamala. So
no.
the only way this matters is if you think he's really going to bring his followers and they're going to follow him and vote for you. I don't think the people that are voting for him over Kamala still like the people. When there were people that were voting for him, and then when Biden dropped out and Kamala got in, they all jumped over to Kamala at that point. That's already
Oh,
happened. So the only
okay.
people left are people that said, "No, I don't like Kamala." And at this
Okay.
point, they're not going to Kamala, even if he told them to. So they
So
would
we
just.
want him to stay in the race.
I think at this point, if you want Trump to lose, RFK staying in the race is the best thing that could happen. Like, because he's.
Okay.
It seemed I could be wrong. Polling we might find out was totally wrong, but it seems like he's pulling way more voters from Trump than he is from Harris. So at this
Mhm.
point, if you're a Democrat, I think it's safe to say you want him to stay until election day. If you're a Republican, you want him to get the hell out. I think. Could be
Huh.
wrong.
Interesting.
So yeah. So and yeah, it's been a fun week, dude. We're getting close to the election, and it's only going to get more fun. Like I'm thriving on this right now. Like every day, I get excited, and I can't wait. And like the first thing I do is go to Breaking Points, and I'm like, "What's happening?" And they don't upload their stuff till later in the day, so I have to sit around all day waiting to hear like what Sagar and Crystal are saying. I think I've
Okay.
learned I start my day every day with breaking points, and then I vary like depending on what's going on, I go right or left from there. But I feel like that's the most centered show I can kind of start with to see what we're saying.
Crystal and Sagar, that's breaking points.
That's
And then
breaking
they
points.
have these other two that are on that I just don't like for some
I
reason.
get I get disappointed when it's not Crystal and Sagar, but
Yeah.
the guy does a good job. I think they both do a good job. The guy and the girl
And
both they do an all right job, but they're not Crystal and Sagar.
yeah.
But like I
They're both right leaning, which is probably
no
why.
the guy is left leaning. The
Oh,
white
the
guy
guy's
that
left
he
and the
always
girl
wears a
is.
suit that he doesn't look quite right in. Like I don't know how
Yeah.
to describe it. Like
Yeah, he's a little off-putting.
his hair is not done at all.
And then
It's
that girl, she's the one that interviewed Seinfeld, right?
I don't know that to be true. Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think so.
but yeah, no, that's like I'm at the point now where for the next 85 days, like I'm gonna wake up every day and go straight to YouTube and be like, oh boy, what are we doing? And
I've been a
yeah,
little bored. I mean,
dude,
there's a lot of just boring speeches by Trump.
his speeches have been boring, and Kamala is working on her stump speech, but Like I got so into this the other day, I ended up listening to an hour straight of David Pakman, which like that's to me,
I like David Pakman.
I know, but to me, that's like watching OAN or like, some right side, what is it, RBSN, right side broadcasting network or whatever.
Dude, he's good, and he has a degree in economics. He's like your economic guy, man.
Good for him.
He will tell you all about the state of the economy.
He's so far left. Every time I watch him, I'm like, and then I have to remind myself, I'm like, oh, Doc's is loving everything he's saying. Like shit. So yeah, but I actually ended up there the other day, which was scary. Like I don't want to
Hmm.
end up back there for a while.
I think he makes great points.
I know you do, and that's why I'm still working on you. I need to bring you closer to the center. That's my goal.
Oh, so we're playing tug of war, and I'm actually winning.
Oh yeah, I think you definitely have pulled me further left than I ever thought I'd be, but I'm trying to pull you out of the far left because yeah, no good.
Hmm.
So
I mean, what's so far left about me that you
everything.
don't like? That you don't like?
Oh, I don't hate it about you. I think that
No, what do you not like? Any of the positions that I hold? What do you not like? Which
much
one?
like most far left people, you say shit that in it by itself, I think everybody would agree with. I think that everybody should have a free college education. That
Yeah.
sounds great. But then the follow up is who's going to pay for it. And I feel like the left has a lot of utopian ideas where it's
Well,
like, oh no,
Bernie Sanders figured out the free healthcare thing.
okay, but he's also got to figure out education.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, it's one step at a time, Andy. One
okay, I'm
step at
just
a
saying.
time.
Here's my bottom line with you and all the far left is that nothing's free. Somebody's paying for it, okay? And to a degree, it's not just the upper class, it will be the middle class and the lower class paying for it. So like when you think about free healthcare, like no, everybody's taxes are going to go up, free anyhow. That's my whole thing and I feel like it's all fantastical when it's like wouldn't it be great if we could take care of everybody? Like yeah, no, that'd be fantastic
Yeah.
how? And it's like all the right now RFK and Trump have put it out. Kamala will probably do the same, but it's like I'm going to make the economy better and at the same time make lives better for every American. Super. How are you going to do that? And nobody will say how. And that's kind of where that's how I look at a lot of left wing things. The right wing things, I know how they're going to do it. It's just a matter of they don't really want to do it. Like we could cut the budget. We could get serious about cutting spending and raising taxes. They're not going to do that.
I don't think that's a right leaning thing. I think that's a left leaning thing.
What's that?
Cutting the budget.
It, the only ones that talked about it for 40 years were Republicans.
Yeah, but
They
the only
didn't
ones
do
that
anything
did
about it.
anything about it, that actually did anything about it were the left. The left is
Yes.
so bad at messaging, right? Like they're just bad about like,
Terrible.
hey, we did this and we did that. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So the
No.
right talked about it and the left actually went in and did something about it. And
Well,
yeah.
right now we're witnessing some of the best messaging I've ever seen out of Democrats, and like Kamala Harris, her campaign is doing a good job of putting up shit where it's like it's very much in the Trump tone. Like they're putting out press releases that look like one of his press releases and making fun of him, and they're minimizing him, which is fucking hysterical. Uh, we got less than 1 minute remaining, and I don't want to have to splice this into another
Damn,
video.
this is gonna be a
Yeah.
long one, bro.
So good night to you. I'm gonna go drink a lot of water and go to bed.
All right, good night.
Yep. I'll talk to you tomorrow, sir.
Later.
Later.